taboo.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Revenue Hacks. I am Calvin Tilokee. You may know me as Revpar on Instagram and the CEO of Revpar Media, social media management. Here, as always, with our queen, Khristina. How are you this morning? Afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, my time, but I'm great form. Thank you very much.
All right, and we're just going to go around and introduce our illustrious panel. We've got Susanne back in the house. We're excited about that.
Hello, hi everyone.
So she's got an echo.
What is that?
All right, so we're going to go around. We have Kyle from BCV Rate Gain.
Hi there, hi everyone. Glad to be here. I'm, like Calvin said, I'm with BCV, a rate gain company. We're based here in Chicago, but we have offices in Miami, in India, London, and growing all the time. We focus on social media marketing for hospitality specifically. So we spent about 10 years sort of building and leading the way. I can remember when Instagram became a thing back in 2012, and here we are in 2021 and rolling with the punches and all the TikTok and everything. And excited to be here with a panel of esteemed hospitality experts.
That's an interesting point you just made there, Kyle. I had a conversation with someone recently, someone obviously much younger than I, and I had a realization that Instagram wasn't even around when I got married, which really put my life in perspective. So thank you for sharing that. Next, we've got Dermot coming to us all the way from Malta.
Hi, everybody. I'm the commercial director here at the Corinthia Palace in Malta. I'm a bit of a global trotter. I've worked around the globe with different global brands, so giving more of a commercial revenue management aspect linked into this element of social media and digital that we talk.
Fantastic. And last but certainly not least, we've got Thibault Catala.
Hi guys, so my name is Thibault. I'm the founder of Catala Consulting, a revenue management company based in London, where we look after the mostly outsourced revenue management model for hotels across Europe. Exciting to be here and discuss our topic today.
Yes, so today we are discussing my favorite topic, social media. So I'm really excited to get into it here today. Don't forget to leave us a lot of comments and questions. We will be picking the winner of the Revenue Hacks mug at the end of the episode based on the amazing questions and comments that you bring to the table. I think we'll who should we let pick this week, Khristina?
Let me see. I think Thibault actually should pick someone this week.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
don't think Thibault's actually picked anyone yet. So Thibault, it's all on you. I'm going to pop in the private chat who has won them. So if it's someone we've picked twice, we can't give it. By the way, Susanne, I'm annoyed. You're back and you didn't even bring your mug.
I know. So I can go and get it. Shall I just whiz around the corner and
Good morning, Catherine. All right. Yeah, I was just commenting on Kat's comment there. A wet and windy West London. We were just discussing weather all around the world. So it's a very timely comment. But yeah, let's get started, guys. I would say let's just start with at the beginning here, discussing social media management. Where do you guys see, how important is this in today's landscape?
I will jump in first because I always jump in first. Only because I think it's really, really important. I think there's two different aspects to it. And we spoke about this backstage. And I know Susanne is going to roll her eyes right away. There's always email marketing. A lot of people think it's dead. We all had discussions beforehand. It is and it's not. I still kind of am on the fence. It just depends on what market you're trying to tap into. But I think because we're all scrolling now more than ever, you need to optimize your social media channels and optimize your book now button to go directly to a good, clean website, because we've had people before ask, do I need to have a website? Yes, you do. And be able to actually run the lower acquisition channels, but it's very, very important that your content isn't stale. That's me.
I'm going to jump in and
well
instantly argue the newsletter. Again, it depends on what you want. We're making the one thing. It's the connection through. That it's the social media. When the newsletter is going out, connecting that to the social media platform. But again, that link back to the website as well. But they all need to be coded to be matched. I mean, I've come across cases when I've done consulting across the board where you'll have the one code got out over everything, so you don't know what's going through from. So it's that match again that you can track the socials from the newsletter, but they all end up back at the same landing page on the main website itself as well. But again, it's changing up the newsletter and the format of that to keep it interesting. So that story of, and particularly at the moment where so much is focused on domestic business for every market, it's pulling that through, that the newsletter is adapted to that element and subject to the breakdown and segmentation of the newsletter then as well.
Can I just add to your point, Dermot, about email marketing? So there's a couple of things for me that make email marketing just as vital a part of your mix as social media or your website. If you consider the various different segments that you're trying to track for your business, let's take distressed inventory or promotional. Then there is a way that you can acquire new guests through a really well planned out email marketing campaign to bring the data in using social media and paid acquisition, feed that into your database, and then use that data to target exactly when you want that customer to come through the doors. So for me, email is such an important part of your mix. Get on it, link it with your social media, personalize it, make sure that you understand your metrics, that your data is clean, and you're following through at every single step. Over to you, Khristina.
I'm laughing because I want to bring Kyle into this, because I've actually seen Kyle's tool. That's wrong. I've actually seen RateGain/BCV's social media tool, and it's like really, really cool. As I said in the background, voyeurism 100%, but I just think it's interesting to get, you know, a creative VP's perception on it.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting that I feel like the question for a long time was, is social media important? And today it's become, well, how do I use it most effectively? And for us, what we always say is, of course it's important. It's because it's where your guests are, right? It's where they're spending their free time. It's where they're spending many hours of the day. So that can be your initial touch point with your guest. It can be a touch point at any point throughout their journey. And we want to be sure, and what we do as BCV is we make sure we're there when they're talking, and we carry on that conversation. We answer things. It's really, we look at social media as an extension of the guest experience and the on-property experience, and it's you know, it's inextricable from those things because it's where your guests are.
Absolutely. Thibault, you want to jump in there? See you shaking your head.
Yes, I mean, like, I don't agree with Khristina saying like the email marketing is dead. I actually believe it's making a big comeback, and that's where people should focus on. Again, everyone's working from home, everyone is stuck at home, so social media, email marketing, and everything is actually making a big comeback. And you can link your newsletter and your marketing with a strong ROI. So you see exactly the open rate, you see exactly how many people click on the click-through rate and everything. So I think it's actually quite quantifiable. So email marketing is making a big comeback, but it's all related to the content that you put out there. So I agree with Susanne saying like it all starts by having a right CRM in place, capturing the right data, and then personalize your email marketing depending on the data that you have. For example, if you want to promote a family package, it doesn't make any sense to promote it for all the corporates that you have in your database. So personalized email marketing, I think, is key, and is making a big comeback.
Can I just add
saying that it's not dead? I just think that when it comes to, you know, there's certain areas or elements of people that it is gone completely from. I'm actually one of them. Whereas like I've got a property in Waterford here in Ireland that is so strong with its email marketing. You know, we've got 9,000 followers on social media and our database is massive, and we actually get a huge turnaround because people do like to have that. But I have a question, right? And I'm going to put it out this before Susanne jumps in. How much email marketing is too much? Because sometimes you can get a run up to a flash sale. You can get the flash sale is going live tomorrow. The flash sale is live right now. The flash sale is still going. We're going to extend it out. We're going to cancel it. You know, and if you look at branded chains, the likes of IHG, Marriott, Best Western, all of these guys, their email marketing is really, really heavy. And if you remember, it's even heavier. So, you know, how much is too much when it comes to dealing with customers?
That's an interesting question. I mean, I think it really depends on the person. I can say I'm one of those people where if I get one off from you, I'm probably not going to pay attention unless I have a specific need at that time. And I think on last week's show, I made the example of, you know, my anniversary is coming up. So now if I see something about flowers or gifts, then I'll like to click into it. But I do know in the past there's been hotels that I've gotten signed up for on their email list, and they send one every single week. And it may take 5 for me to finally say, okay, you know what, I'm going to open this thing because you guys are really persistent. Other people may obviously be potentially turned off by that. And after the third one may unsubscribe, maybe after the second one. You know, I really think it depends on the person, but I'm not a big email marketing person now. I don't think you should shut it down. But all of my emails go to AOL. I've had that account since like 1994. When I go to a store, if I'm signing up for anything, that's the email you're getting because I don't check it at all. So I'm not the guy.
I have a quick tip on this one, actually. If you want to increase the number of sign-up and number of emails that you're collecting at your hotel, there is one very simple trick, which is always asking for the email of the guest when you ask for the Wi-Fi. To connect, please enter your email. And this kind of practice has been increased number of emails by hundreds every day. So of course you have a lot of junk, but still you're growing your marketing and then you reach more person. So essentially email marketing is all about volume, and based on these volumes, then you will have X number of conversion. But yeah, that's a quick trick.
I think that's really interesting because, again, sorry, last time I promised it, right? I promise. I think what's really interesting is the brand change are now going into capturing people's data when they're actually looking to sign up to do email marketing. And in order to actually get on the Wi-Fi, you need to do that. Best Western looked at that during the pandemic this year to be able to try and drive business. Sorry, Susanne, go on.
I just think that the last point about email marketing is, what is the return on investment? For every £1 spent on email marketing, what do you then get back per channel? Now, the Direct Marketing Association basically have chucked out a figure of, for every £1 you spend, you get £30, 24 pence back in average. So how does that compare to the other channels? And that, I think, is a good deciding factor about how much to use it and how to personalize it and how to really get the return on investment. It's always about the numbers.
I think Absolutely. That's really, we've had questions last week about that as well. How do you track your social media through your booking channels and everything like that? And I know we touched on that in regards to like tracking and making sure everything is set up correctly and stuff, but it is quite hard to gauge sometimes the return on social media spend. Dermot, how would you guys track that, especially because you were just saying offline in the background that Malta is very heavily Facebook orientated at the moment?
Yeah, we certainly check with this is where the reservations team and checking how they heard about an offer is certainly one of the biggest things we manually do. And in terms of that, it's the tracking element of it. Sort of, if we're putting an offer out in socials, for example, we'll have a different promo code on that'll link back to the booking engine physically. So from that side of things, again, with the newsletter also, it'll be a different promo code. So we can track that back as well with it. In terms of the measurement of it, it is the hands-on. It's very much, we're doing verbal at the moment. It's the most easiest way because we've got such a few coming through. We're finding that engagement then on property makes it easier to guarantee that interaction and then keep the customer in the long run. So it's more offline than it is digital than anything else. But the one thing we're doing in terms of driving that database then, as I was saying offline as well, we've got the QR codes. We have a QR code signed straight up to a database sign-up page for the newsletter, and we've seen a far greater capture with that in our outlets, doing takeaway in the spa as people are sitting there. They're doing that, and we're seeing a far better capture and increase in the newsletter than we do through front desk and different sign-ups that way. Because you're over with the front desk, you're up to the forever deciphering handwriting and capturing that. But we've put in a daily checklist process, and I've put this in several places. It's that daily check of let's check this den nights, and if they're in doubt, let's double check it. In one place I've worked, what we did was put it at the checkout point when they're doing the final bill. It's you want an email copy of the invoice sent out to you instead of giving the print, you're guaranteeing the capture with it again. So it's that, again, CRM element of it, and the segmentation comes back through that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Kyle, I wanted to let you jump in there and get your opinion on this conversation.
Yeah, you know, when we think about ROI in terms of social media spend, there are a couple different ways we think about it. Obviously, the most direct is we run an ad campaign based around an offer that the brand has put out, and we can track directly when that offer was launched as an ad. And if we have sort of ability to plug into the back end of a booking engine, we can see specifically what's been clicked on through social and what's leading to that conversion, how much of that business comes through social. So there's a very direct route that we can use to measure ROI based on, you know, our advertising. But the other way we think about it is in terms of reputation protection, right? So being on social as kind of, you could call it the first line of defense or last line in some cases. We often field complaints. People have maybe issues while they're on property or after they leave property. You know, they're saying something. We're able to pick that up based on the keywords that we're searching, you know, the handles that we're monitoring. And in terms of that reputation protection, we can sort of mitigate any crises. And we see a lot of value in ROI. It's a little harder to measure because we're kind of protecting those guest experiences and that lifetime guest value. But being able to kind of field that in real time, resolve things and communicate with the property about what's going on social and what are people saying, that's an incredibly valuable tool in addition to the direct booking and marketing that we can do.
Absolutely. So go ahead, Khristina.
I was just about to say, I think we should get to some of the questions.
I was just about to do the see. We're on the same page. We're on the same page.
I know,
love it. I love it.
2 different time zones, but we think the same sometimes.
Exactly. So this one comes in from a LinkedIn user. It says, what's the most efficient way to engage with your guests on social media? A marketing manager has more and more channels to watch these days, which I think is a great question.
This is actually from Marjorie, by the way, who actually was on the show last week.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Marjorie, fellow Irish person.
How did you figure that out?
I think this should either go to you, Kyle, or it should go to Dermot or Susanne for sure, because I think these are the main people that will be able to answer this. So one of you jump in.
Yeah, I'm happy to start. I think, sorry, Dermot. If I could just start, I think that the first mistake that a lot of marketers make when they engage with social media is thinking, I need to be everywhere, right? Like TikTok's popular, I need to be on TikTok. Instagram's popular, I need to be there. Facebook, Twitter, and I understand that impulse because I want to be anywhere my guest is. But the mistake would be to spread yourself too thin, to not provide enough value or attention to the most important channels, right? So you think about Facebook and Instagram as kind of the two kingpins here. That's usually where we recommend starting, just because I think they offer sort of the best ability to connect with your guests from an advertising standpoint, tailor advertising and market directly to specific people. And then, my experience coming from the creative side, the tools that Facebook and Instagram roll out to provide new vehicles for creative, things like carousels, instant experiences, ads, very immersive sort of marketing experiences. That's really where the value comes into play. But I think ultimately when you take a step back, you have to ask yourself, where can I devote enough time and attention? And looking at my budget, where is that best spent? And I think a big mistake would be to sort of spread yourself too thin and sign up everywhere and do a little bit everywhere.
Well said. Susanne,
I think that I totally agree with Kyle. You have to be where your audience are. I think that you don't spread yourself to hang out where your actual audience are. I think the other thing was back in 2014, I was putting Salesforce in as a CRM, and there was a tool within Salesforce that you could monitor keywords that you set up to monitor conversations on Twitter or on Facebook. And actually that for me was the most effective way of managing those channels, that I could, because it's hospitality and travel, you're jumping in when that conversation's happening. So you're actually engaging right at the point that the guest is asking the question on their keyword. So that's how I manage that. I monitor certain conversations on certain platforms to make sure that I actually get the return and engage with the guests as and when they need it.
All right, Dermot, all yours. We're going to shut up and let you go.
I mean, sort of the efficient management of it. We use social bakers, for example. And again, very similar to what Susanne was saying, it's using those keywords in the communities that sit within, say, social bakers that you can develop from that. And as I said, Facebook is very commercially driven here in Malta, but one of my previous markets was the Maldives, and I was talking to a colleague the other day in the Maldives where they've actually stripped back their newsletters and even their bookings over the last year with their database to see where people are flying in from with the Maldives when such the open market as it is at the moment, and driving them down into where they're actually posting their social media adverts and pushing it back in that way even. So it's pushing it and really narrowing down that CRM aspect of it. And again, what we're doing sort of at the moment is we're really pushing a call to action focus more with Facebook from the commercialization of it here in Malta, and going more the experiential side on Instagram to grow a more international based market.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I think we're all kind of on the same page. Ultimately, it's where your audience is. I mean, I can tell you, I have some clients where we're on everything. So we're on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you name it. And out of all of those, LinkedIn popped. And that seems to be where the audience is responding. So that's where we focus our time. I think that's ultimately, you want to be paying attention to who you're going after and where they're responding. And
I love Idal's comment just there. #1 social media for hotels is TripAdvisor. I think people forget that TripAdvisor actually was the first social media channel really for hotels years and years ago. I don't even want to go there actually, because I'm still a young gun in this industry. Dermot, you're not. Anyways, I'd like to go just quickly to Luca's question, who Luca is actually working with IHG, and he actually did put in a really, really good question when it comes to with all new data protection rules in place in Europe, is there really a future for email marketing? It feels like capturing email addresses is becoming more and more difficult. Luca? It is difficult, but I think it's all down to how you position it and how you actually say to the guest. Obviously, with GDPR, there needs to be a clear line in regards to who is the data controller and the data processor. In the likes of the brands, they are the data processor, except for anything that they hold for members for marketing. That's then up to the hotel. But I think it's about how well the hotel stores the data as well. I think there's been so many data breaches with different brands internationally, and just 2 days ago we seen there was the biggest airline data breach ever for rewards clubs. I think you need to be giving people the data, but you also need to be very strict with how you deal with it, and having everything shut down correctly and being able to show the guest and actually tell the guest 110% that your security is right. That's the only way you're able to do it. Plus as well, we're giving our details to OTAs, so why aren't we actually giving it to a property? I think it's about making sure your teams are well versed in how to capture that data from the guest, because there's teams in it who say, oh, GDPR, I'm not doing it. That's something I don't buy into 100%. Your teams need to be, fully versed into saying, well, look, at your information is from booking.com. However, we can give you direct deals. We can give you a lot better. We won't trash your inbox. And your data is secure with us, a lot more secure than it would be with a certain different product.
Yeah,
I think you need to do it carefully. Just like when you have to tick the box, I agree that to receive like email marketing from the company. So this tick is a new nuance from the GDPR, and now you can actually track if people accept it or not. So I think that's very important. But I don't know you, but for me, since the GDPR has been introduced, I never received that many spam as before. I never received as many emails as before. So I think it's even more important today than it was before. And so I'm not sure if GDPR is actually a roadblock to the email marketing.
There's been a really, really good question there from Abe. And I want to ask you guys about this, especially Kyle, because Kyle, this is where your expertise will come in. Can the panel elaborate on the importance of A/B testing in email marketing? This is so important, and I think people forget to test and to run tests for quite a period of time. If you don't think it's being successful, continue with it until your deadline date. Don't call it, because it might pick up.
Yeah, I think Calvin said something really interesting that's a bit related, where, if you're on a lot of different channels, you have to look at what's performing well and what's not. And if LinkedIn is popping, then yeah, focus your attention where you're seeing results. And I think the same goes for, individual campaigns, whether it's email, a social campaign. Unless you're kind of putting multiple feelers out there, you're not going to have a good sense of what's working and what's not. So it's vital to get the information to be able to inform I think an efficient campaign, and a campaign that uses your money effectively, right? It's a very small step to take to ensure success, and that you're using the right message with the right people at the right time.
Exactly. All right, we'll let you get in there, Susanne. It's about emails, so we know you have something to say. You're on mute still.
Myself, which is highly unusual behaviour. The point's just about the data quality and the data hygiene, and making sure that the first thing about when you want that sign up, that you're showing that you can be trusted, that there's data preferences, and that you're really going to look after the data, as well as understand the metrics that sit behind it. I think when it comes to A/B testing, then again, it's about properly segmenting your audience and then split testing what the different results are and what the different return on investment is. So it's always worth doing. I think that Tom's just made a comment about social posting, and I'm really curious to hear what everyone thinks about the strategies that sit behind paid acquisition and organic social. How both of those things work, and should you have different strategies for them? Because like the point of a member of staff, sticking a post on social media and calling that, wanting to see engagement on that. Where do you sit with that? Because I've got quite strong views that I'm not going to share yet. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I'll jump in on that one. I mean, I think there has to be a strategy behind anything, and I think that's where a lot of hotels drop the ball with social media. It's because it's typically tasked to somebody who has another full-time job. It might be your sales coordinator, or they, typically just try to throw that as an additional task on someone. And we understand why that is in most cases. But what happens there is the person has a full-time job. So social media is only going to get attention when everything else is done. That's not their primary area of responsibility. I wouldn't even say expertise, but responsibility. They may be really good at it, but phone starts ringing, contracts come in, somebody's at the desk, and then it gets pushed to the side to say, hey, let's just throw something up, and then we're not paying attention. Like anything else, if you're going to want to see results with it, you need to have some time dedicated to it, pay attention, strategize, do all your different testing. I mean, certain types of content work, some don't. And it's a lot about timing. And I think, as we've kind of touched on here in the panel, it's very similar to revenue management. And that's kind of when I speak to my hotel clients, that's kind of how I position myself, because what we do in revenue is basically what Kyle was just talking about. It's putting the room in front of the right person at the right time for the right price. It's no different on social media. It's finding your audience, figuring out who they are, what they respond to, and getting it in front of them at the right time. A lot of the stuff that I post on my personal Instagram or on Revpar Problems, the ones that are the best are the ones that are timely. The one when something's in the news, something's in pop culture, something's happening, and then I can put that up. Everybody's already thinking about this, so it does well. It's all about timing. And again, the short answer to your question is, you need to be focused on it, and you need to be. It can't just be, hey, let's just throw this out there. We've posted once this week. Let's move on to something else. You're not going to see any growth or traction that way.
So actually, in saying that about posting, because I obviously work for a hospitality company, that's changing soon. And I think what's really interesting is I can't wait to hear what everyone else says. How many posts is the optimal amount of posts in a week or in a day when it comes to it. I love the way Thibault's shaking his head, okay? But it's funny because there's a lot of people who think that sometimes you can be too viral or there's too much postings going on, whereas I don't think that's it, because, you know, you can take a company from having 30 followers on LinkedIn to nearly 1,600 followers on LinkedIn. And in order to do that, you actually need to be posting regularly, posting stories, posting this, that, and the other. Hey, look how great I am. Whereas some people just don't clue into the whole thing. They don't buy into it. They feel that you're overposting. So is there anything as too much? Kyle, I'm going to ask you, because again, your tool follows everybody around. It's cool but creepy. I love it. But for me, it's just my personal thing, as I said backstage. You're on mute.
You're on mute still.
Sorry about that. You know, it's we're just picking up what people are putting down, right? We're not trying to be invasive. We're not trying to you know, dig into information where we're not supposed to. It's on social, it's a conversation. So that's how we approach it, and we want to be as present in as many conversations as possible that are relevant for people we want to talk to. When it comes to posting volume, you know, I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all approach. I think in large part it's dictated by how interesting can you be at scale, right? How much value can you provide in each message that you're putting out? Because if you're just kind of hitting, you know, repeat on every single message, and that's your strategy for volume, I think you're going to wear your patience thin for a lot of your guests, right? And on the social side, you know, we try to strike that careful balance between, we know we're appearing in your feed alongside, you know, your mother, your friends, colleagues, coworkers, authentic, organic, real content. And in large part, we don't want to stick out like a sore thumb, right? We want to get your attention, and we want to, you know, drive bookings, and we want to maintain that relationship in a positive way. So it depends on what the, I guess, the client's goals are, but it also depends on what that particular brand or business is able to sustain at scale. And that's really where we find the sweet spot of volume is, you know, whether it's 3 times a week, 5 times a week, 12 times a week, we want to make sure each one of those messages has value and is, I think, bringing home the brand message in an effective way and isn't just, you know, volume for volume's sake.
Dermot, how many times do you post a week?
We do 3 a week really at the moment, and it's fully planned and targeted. We tend to try and target 1 to 2 hero posts a month that we then put and boost those for the specific call to actions that we have. We have a very loyal repeater following on social, so they really do help drive the organic from that side of things. But I've seen one hotel when I was doing consultancy, they paid to boost every single post, from UGC to generic destination information. They boosted. The amount of money they wasted was unbelievable. There was no strategic plan to it. It was exactly as Kyle said. It's that very specific message we need to put through. And again, this links back to that call to action as you do. So whether it's a room, dining, takeout is the big thing at the moment. And again, I think right now there's so much noise out there. It's nearly, in one sense, the very clear message call to actions is the primary focus, because otherwise you're getting lost amongst the white noise out there amongst the rubbish. I mean, for example, here in Malta now, restaurants are only allowed to do takeout or serve hotel residents. Everybody since last Thursday has developed and expanded their takeout range. The takeout Bolt and Wolt here, they're printing money. It's that element and variation. So again, it's working with the partners. So we've even seen that spike pushing the delivery partners in our social media content in the delivery requests from our own restaurants. So it's that flow through with it. And again, we're trying to see what we can do with span other elements that we're not just wasting our time with it, that's sort of going, let's just do this, but let's do it properly. And very much a targeted calendar. And we try to operate a 2-week load at a time, and then tweak and edit as we need to go at the moment. And I think at the moment it's that it was in the newsletter, somebody said in what the questions in terms of content at the moment, it's the same with social media. There's that, I find some companies are really pushing the safety element. to me, it's too much, and I think little is more. I think it's such that basic expectation at this point, and it's a big part of it. And even in the newsletters, it's very subtle references to it. I find you don't want to get it too technical, making you're actually going through a medical procedure, physically checking into a hotel or going into a restaurant. But at the same time, it's that pull through that the premises is set up for it. So it's trying to judge that message across the board as well.
Let's have a conversation about the advantages of digital marketing, social media, and everything, because we know it can be a huge good news story. It can make guests feel awesome on check-in because we recognize them. You know, some hotels do it very, very well. Some companies do it very well as well on how they market to people. Calvin, you've had some really good stories in the past. And we've seen how if you identify a problem child or a problem guest in-house, you're able to turn it from being a bad news story to a good news story on social media. You're able to kind of hamper out that. So let's have a discussion about that, because I think a lot of people don't invest enough time into this whole, you know, guest experience and how you can actually drive a guest to you, first of all, to book by your marketing and all your techniques that you do in the background, but also then what you do when they check in that makes it ultra special to be able to push you above everyone else. Because again, we're still in a world where it's word of mouth. So if I have a great stay in the Maldives or somewhere like that, I wish, then Susanne might go to the Maldives, and you know, it's that domino effect. So let's have a conversation about that. Kyle, can you talk us through, you know, what you would recommend to hotels from the get-go, from you know, trying to get that guest all the way through to checking out? And that's using either, you know, what you guys do in BCV, or, you know, what you would recommend to anyone who doesn't have that power or that tool behind them.
Yeah. You know, we were kind of talking about volume, when to post, how much to post. And I think an interesting, you know, way to look at it is, by the time the post gets to Facebook, Instagram, wherever it is, that's really just the tip of the iceberg, right? That is one very small part in what an effective social media marketing initiative looks like, right? It's just it's the window display. But beyond that, and kind of, you know, the rest of the iceberg is what's the important part, right? Is who are we targeting it to? When is it posted? What are we talking about? Is there a call to action, right? Are we taking the necessary steps to make this an effective message? And all of that takes time and thought and effort and strategy. And to Calvin's point, there's not always somebody on site at a hotel who's dedicated and has the time to be able to devote to all of the, you know, the foundational work that goes into a social post. So it's a large undertaking. And with BCV, you know, where we start is really with our we have one side, which is sort of strategy, and the other side, which is, you know, monitoring. And the strategy really deals with what's the proactive messaging that we're putting out there to drive business and engage with our guests. And then our monitoring side is, you know, the team that deals with that real-time sort of customer engagement. And I think those are two keys when we think about the guest experience that have to be working in tandem. They have to be synced, and those efforts also have to be synced with what the property is doing. So our goal is to create a seamless experience, right? Before your trip, maybe you're posting about how excited you are and you tag the hotel. We want to receive that. We know you're coming. We're going to give the hotel a heads up. And you know, if we know you as a past guest, or if there's something special that we can glean from your post, maybe it's an anniversary or birthday, that's information that is valuable to us and valuable to the hotel. So that sort of insight informs how we will receive the guest, right? To have that special moment at check-in, or to have a special amenity in the room, that's something that's made possible by being engaged on social. So it starts well before the visit, it's carried through the visit, and then after the fact, I know we touched on TripAdvisor briefly, but it's an incredibly important channel for us as well to be able to sort of close that circle and then continue the conversation towards the next day, to be able to receive that message, acknowledge it, you know, if there were issues, be able to address them. We want to be sure we're there every step of the way, responding quickly with, you know, useful, timely information as you're posting throughout a trip.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think what you know, in a nutshell, what you're saying there is social media needs to be an extension of the hotel. It's not something separate. And I think that's why it's important to have hotel people doing your social media, because they understand that process. I know he gave a lot of examples that I would have given. What I love is when I'm on a hotel's feed and I see someone comment on one of their posts, "Hey, I'll be there in 6 months for my anniversary," and then the hotel responds to that, "Hey, get in touch with us, let us know," and they want to do something special. You know, that's the guest journey is starting further and further back now. You know, and you want your social media team to be aware of that and look at them as actual guests and look at it that way, as they're part of this process. You know, how can we now engage and have an authentic interaction with this person on social media that's going to push through all the way until they check out, and you can follow up with them after that. I'm sure they're going to continue to be on your page. They're going to share their stories. They're going to tag you, put that up. You want it to look as real as possible. A lot of things that I do with some of my clients is we create a hashtag for your hotel. Share those pictures on your feed. Maybe create a highlight that has a collection of those. Similar to how TripAdvisor came up earlier in the conversation. When you go on TripAdvisor, you're not looking at the hotel pictures. You want to see the traveler pictures. It's because people want to get the real story. So why not do that on your Instagram? Why not create a highlight for guest pictures and highlights and things like that? So just making sure that you're looking at it in the right way. And I think the key word is just being authentic and being part of that guest experience.
I have a question for the panel on this. Okay, because again, Dermot, you work for luxury. Susanne, you're in luxury. Adele, that's on the other side of this, and Aina Hassad, you guys are in luxury. Do you think, and Susanne, before even I roll, I already expect your answer right away. It's like a boxing match between the two of us. Do you think, first of all, luxury hotels are only catching up with technology right now, especially when it comes to social and digital marketing technology? And do you think that they're the only people who have the actual finances to invest heavily into this type of tech? Because, when you look at it, budget and econ at the moment, some of them are struggling, some of them haven't been open. And a lot of them wouldn't have disposable income to hand. Thoughts? This is a huge can of worms I'm opening. I know that. I'm prepared for this.
The thing is that it's about your CRM. Every point that Kyle made is 100% spot on, but that you need the CRM on property in order to track that behavior all the way through and really truly monetize it in a nice, simple way, so that you don't have one person. You need the tech, you need the CRM. For me, if you have that in place, then it's a lot easier to move forward with proper strategies that are actually going to reward loyalty and engage that customer. So that was really the first thing I wanted to say. Do our luxury hotels? No, I don't think so. I think if anything, luxury rely on their brand so much and their customer experience, they might be a little bit behind. Don't know what everyone else thinks.
I don't know. I don't know if I've seen it. Go ahead. You can go ahead, Dermot. I know you've got that little delay there. Jump in there.
I think, physically within Corinthia, we're actually pretty tied up. Actually, we've got a pretty good system in place run through our content team in London. I think from my global experience and sort of the more boutique, I'm finding actually companies are getting more and more in tune with it because they're so specific. And the independent hotels, there's ways and means around it without breaking the bank. And again, I think some of it is challenging your PMS companies, what is available through those to be able to manage it at implementation and extract it back out that way. But again, it's defining those segments, the type of customer also comes back into how you want to do that. But again, sort of pretty much summed it up. It's that targeted element and seeing how you can pull it back that way.
Do you think that retail actually are the guys that have got this absolutely nailed in terms of their hyper personalization? I'd like to see some of that technology being used in hospitality so that actually you're getting far more engagement. It's personal, it's targeted, it hits email, it hits your social channels. and it's tailored to the exact audience you want to attract. I don't think we're quite there yet in hospitality with that level of technology yet.
Agreed. So there's a question I want to make sure that we get to before we have to wrap up here. Comes in from Andrew Jenkins. Should all social posts be selling, or is there space for developing interest in the product and growing relationships? Thibault, I'll let you jump in on this one first.
Yeah, I think no, it shouldn't be always about selling. It should be a mix of everything. And I believe the root mission of any marketing campaign should be about building a community. If you want to do it on social media, I will go back to a new trend. Maybe you have seen it, maybe you didn't because it was in the US. But for example, I don't know if you know this YouTuber called Mr. Beast. He has launched a new burger chain in the US. So I believe there will be a similar trend where you have like, okay, YouTuber launching burger places or hotels, and the same with hotels where you have Bulgari, which have been, I think it was Ritz-Carlton, who have partnered up with Bulgari, the jewelry brand, to launch some hotels. So I believe today, the ability to communicate and have a community is an asset of the next probably several decades. And everyone is fighting for attention, and everyone is fighting for this kind of the communication. So again, there is a lot of technology advancement which have been allowing us to get the attention and to grab the attention. But this kind of community building should be at the center of attention on any kind of marketing activities. Where having an hotel is to accommodate guests could become less important than actually grabbing the attention of people. And when you go into your social media, it's all about grabbing attention to build this community. And then whatever you will be selling after, you can sell burger places, hotels, or whatever. And that's, I believe, the next trend in marketing activity of the next decade.
Absolutely. Kyle, I'm sure you got some thoughts on that. So don't forget, you're on mute. We definitely want to hear what you have to say.
Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, certainly. I think, there are a few different ways to think about selling. I think the way we've framed it is, here's an offer, book now, visit our website, book this offer. If you're doing, your strategy effectively, describing the experience, showing more experiential moments, being a little bit more, focused on the guest experience and the beauty of the place, that's selling too, right? It's not independent from just presenting an offer and asking to book. So I think the outright selling needs to be tempered right and used in the right ways. Put an ad spend behind it, reach your right audience. But you also have to understand that people who might follow you and opt in to be a follower and a fan, they don't necessarily want to see it all the time, right? And if they do want to see it, they may seek it out, or we'll be timely with a message around key travel periods to be able to reach them. But it's that balance of this beautiful content that gives me, sort of inspiration to travel with the very targeted message and a call to action as sort of the payoff to that.
Agreed. Yeah, I think you guys are both 100% spot on. I think it's about creating a community and just engaging with the audience authentically, just naturally. Every post should definitely not be about selling. I'd say no more than 10-15% of them should be. Actually, most of it should be about your product, especially about the people. And I think that's where a lot of hotels miss the boat with their social. What makes your hotel special typically is the people that are there. Who are you going to see when you check in? One thing I suggest a lot is you've got an employee of the month, somebody who's just been awarded something. Put that person on social media, because this now gives you a connection. This gives the guest and that audience somebody to look for when they check in. And there's already an established kind of connection there. Say, hey, you know what? I remember I saw you on Instagram. I saw you won an award, or, they know when they see this person, okay, this is going to be a great stay now, because if they put you on their Instagram page, it must be good. It's about those type of things and really getting into the actual soul of the hotel as opposed to selling. The selling should come fairly easy once you've done that properly. So, how much more time we got, Queen?
Well, we should have wrapped up about 5 minutes ago, but I'm quite happy to go ahead if we want to go ahead. I could talk about this all day, but I still have to collect a child in a bit. So kind of one of these things, you know.
We don't want your child out in the street, so you know. We'll start
today.
wrapping
If it
it
was
up.
sunny, I'd be like, okay, yeah, that's fine. We'll have a conversation. I'll get some gin and we'd be fine. But yeah.
All right, we'll start wrapping it up here. Well, this was a great chat. Thibault, who's the winner of our mug today?
I think I saw a lot of comments and very relevant comment and feedback from Abe Salam on LinkedIn.
Big Abe Salam. Yeah, a lot of comments today. He usually is pretty active, so I'm happy we were able to get him the mug. So we'll be in touch with you, sir. Get that mug in your hands. We are on a break next week. So we'll be back on March 24th. There's something happening in Ireland next week. Not sure what it is.
It's St. Patrick's Day. We don't parade this year. Everyone paints themselves green and gets drunk and has Guinness. Dermot, you're not invited because you just don't like Irish weather anymore. But yeah, so it's like a public holiday. It's very rare it happens on a Wednesday, so I'm going to take advantage of it. And if you find that, you know, there's random posts being put somewhere, just ignore them. Someone actually take my phone away from me for the few days, yeah?
Listen, we're very well aware of St. Patrick's Day. I was just busting your chops. It's a big one here too, even for non-Irish people. Everybody's Irish on March 17th. One thing I will do, and you know, this is a slightly personal plug, but I wanted to talk about the Burger King tweet, and I know everybody saw. So head to my LinkedIn page. I really want to have a conversation with people about it to see how you feel about that type of marketing, whether it was effective, worthwhile, or anything. So hop on my LinkedIn page. I wrote a blog about that, read it. And then I really want to talk to see what people think about that. It's a little too early to talk about that here. So we'll have that conversation elsewhere. But we're back on March 24th, back with an epic Google and Facebook Analytics Masterclass from Harry Fielder, excuse me. And we will see you then. Anything else, Khristina, before we log off here?
Absolutely nothing. We did talk about the Burger King backstage, so I think we're all going to get involved in this conversation. Don't be afraid to be honest and be truthful, because it was like amazing. It was, yeah, the conversation we had was great. So I can only imagine what the likes of Adele is going to bring when she starts talking about it. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. We will see you on March 24th.
Thank you.
My world will never ever leave you in doubt. I don't see what all the fuss is about. I didn't know I had to watch my tongue. Now you know that I'm alone with God. Yeah, you know it's true. I'm too taboo.